is going to be corn silage and haylage, and about 50% of that is going to be basically roughages. What we produce per day is about, so we're going to milk around 230 cows. We're going to be anywhere from 21,000 to 23,000 pounds a day, right in that ballpark. This is what we call a double 7 herringbone. In a herringbone, the cows stand at an angle to the operator that's in the pit. We have now is considered one of our tie stall barns. A tie stall is a barn where the cows are physically tied to the stalls. Had them in a barn where they were in free stalls at one time. We've had some floor issues with that barn, and so we've had a... So this is kind of another one of our big feed kitchens. In the new facility, this will have some modifications done to it. So this is just kind of an overview of our new dairy facility that we're in the midst of constructing right now.
Jesse sent a message saying that he won't be making videos anymore because you haven't subscribed to the Santa Fe channel. So subscribe now, and he will continue recording on farms around the world.
Hello everybody, today we are in the Michigan State University and we visit the farm, and Jim show us everything and explain how this works, the management, the feeding, and I hope that you enjoy this video. Subscribe to our channel and welcome.
Yeah, welcome. This is my name is Jim Good. I'm the manager here. I've been here about 4.5 years at the Michigan State University dairy research facility here. Before that, I spent about two and a half decades as a dairy farmer myself. But yeah, we're glad to make this video for you. We have 3 missions to our to the dairy farm here. One of those missions is teaching, which we do a lot of with students, either through the classroom type setting, hands-on, or actually employing students here as well too. Another one of our missions is outreach. So we're constantly having meetings and different things for producer groups where they can come in and learn different techniques about dairy farming and dairy production. And then the last, probably the biggest part of our focus here at the dairy farm is teaching. We have some real world-renowned researchers, Dr. Adam Locke, Dr. Mike Vanderhaar, Dr. Barry Bradford, Dr. Zheng Zhao, Dr. Pam Rug. A lot of these folks are well known across the world, and at any one particular time we've got anywhere between 6 and 8 research projects that are going on currently at the farm. So welcome to the MSU Dairy Farm, and we hope you enjoyed the video. Well, welcome. This is the Michigan State University Dairy Cattle Teaching and Research Center. A lot of our facility is quite aged. It's about 60 years old. We're standing in what's now our classroom. This classroom, it doesn't happen to be busy today. I think later today it's scheduled for a class, but almost every day during the week and sometimes even on the weekends, we'll have various classes that utilize this classroom. The nice thing is it's right here at the dairy farm. So they can, if the class session is an hour or 2 hours long, they can come in here and they can spend get started in the classroom with some more visuals and different things, some instructions, and then they can actually go out to the barns and do various things on cows. Say if they're practicing simple things like blood draws or physicals or whatever, they've got the cows that they can go out there and then do some instruction with and get some actual hands-on learning. But this facility, as we said, it's utilized virtually every day. Majority of the classes are either going to be animal science, but then 2 days of the week they're actually, the vet school is out here with a couple of classes as well. And then we do numerous instructions for everything, like civic groups that want to have a tour, FFA groups of youth, different local schools. A lot of times they'll utilize the classroom too for instruction and then go out and take a tour. So it's a very vital part of our operation here is to have the classroom available for instruction and teaching. We have now is considered one of our tie stall barns. A tie stall is a barn where the cows are physically tied to the stalls. And you can see some of them are loose right now. They're coming back from either the exercise pen or from the milking parlor. Majority of the cows in this particular tie stall are going to be what we consider close-up cows, and those are cows that are going to be in the dry period about 3 weeks to 3 to 4 weeks prior to calving. So all these cows will be calving in the next 3 weeks or so. We utilize this as a research barn as well too, and you can see down here that there might be 5 or 6 different diets in this particular barn. We've got some fresh cow diets, some research cow diets. We've got that close-up cow diet. And so when we let the cows out, we have a a door that will lock the cow away from feed. That way we don't have feed stealing amongst all the different types of research cows that are going in here. Once the cows are all chained up, the feed doors will open, and then the cows have access to their TMR. Right. But again, this is a basically one of the ways we have a research barn. It's kind of an older type of way to get dry matter intakes. There's a lot newer ways that we can talk about too, what we're going to have in our new facility. But again, these are all hand fed. Each morning the feed is picked up, it's weighed on a scale, and then a new amount of feed is calculated and administered to the cow. But this way, researchers really like this type of stall, at least in this type of environment, because we can calculate a daily dry matter intake. So very important for feed trials to get that daily dry matter intake, and that's why we have individual, basically feed stalls for each cow. And everything is weighed and measured, both coming out and going in. This particular barn, I think, holds about 32 cows. 32 tie stalls, and then along with some box stalls as well too. So
very good.
Yep. And then the cows in here are getting ready, when they're getting ready to have a calf, when they're getting ready to calve, we move them down to the assisting pen down there, and we can put them in a box stall and provide assistance, or give them a little more privacy down there to have their calves in. So we practice basically just-in-time calving, where we actually see the feet starting to come out, and then that's at the time that we move the cow down to the calving pen. All right, these particular pens here would be special needs box stalls or some calving pens where cows are getting ready to have calves. They'll come down here and be in the pen. This particular pen here is set up where if we've got a down cow, we can move her around with a hoist. We've got a area over here where this particular chute is more set up to do work on animal feet. So this one's specifically with some of the straps and different things. We can get a lame cow in here and do a little work on her feet as well too. Again, this part of the facility is used for a lot of teaching as well too. We can get a handful of students in here, and when we're working on a foot on a cow, that can be a great learning experience for the students. We don't trim all the cows. This is only for sporadic use, and also for teaching as well too. But we trim the cows. Each cow here gets a trim every 6 months, so twice a year.
Right.
Yep. But we'll hire a contractor to do that, and they'll do that out in the barn with a chute very similar to this, but a little bit more automated. We have a cattle chute here, and so a lot of the research trials, at least once, if not twice per week, they'll like to run the cattle across there and take body weights on the cattle. So we have that available as well. This particular area is what we call our small batch feed mixing center. It's actually called a tumble mixer. If we're making a very small batch of feed that's a little bit too large for our larger feed mixer, we'll make a base mix of forages, and then we'll run that base mix in here, and then we'll hand add some of the supplements or concentrates to that right in the tumble mixer. Because say if we're making a 500-pound batch in our larger feed mixer that makes about 6,000 pounds, it doesn't mix it very thoroughly, and so we'll need to do small batches. And then the feed will be loaded into these carts, and then we'll distribute that feed to the tie stalls. So this is our small batch feed mixing center. The cattle, when they're fed in the tie stalls, they're all hand fed with carts and pitchforks. So in our new facility, we're moving away from this, and we can talk about a little bit about that later too. But right now, it's a lot of manual labor to feed about 100. I think there's 163 cows in tie stalls, and that is all done with hand labor right now, currently. We'll have both. We're going to have a conventional parlor that let me start back from scratch here a little bit. Currently, right now, we're building a brand new state-of-the-art facility. At this particular facility, we milk about 225 cows, with 250 cows that's milking and dry both. In the new facility, we'll have capacity for about 680, so that would be about 550 milking with 130 dry cows. Of the 550 cows that we will be milking, 120 of those cows will be on 2 Lely robots. Robot is able to handle about 60 cows, so there'll be 60 on each robot, 120. The remainder of the cows will all go through a conventional parlor that will be put in by the company called Gia. That will be a double 12 parallel parlor with a subway underneath, so our meters and everything will be underneath for the researchers to take their samples and things. So, yeah, the new facility, basically it's going to be what is considered a tunnel vent barn. It's approximately about 250 feet wide by 650 feet long, 600 feet long. And I can show you some plans that we can maybe get on the video as well too before you leave today. But it'll be basically almost like a climate-controlled barn. And the basis of a tunnel vent barn is it draws air in one side and exhausts it out the other side. And so the air, you can have a constant air speed going down through the barn, and the air is always fresh. So yeah, everything will be under one big giant roof. Yep, so we're kind of looking forward to that. Some of the feeding will be much more automated too. We won't have all this hand feeding, and I can share a little bit here at the end of the video as to how that's going to be set up as well. So the cows are just coming back into this research barn from the milking parlor. So all the cows that are in tie stalls actually they're not milked in the tie stalls, they go to the milking parlor. And this is just showing the cows coming back. We can see that the feed doors are all closed where the feed is, so there's no stealing of feed. That way we make sure we get accurate dry matter intakes on individual cows. But this barn holds about 80 cows, or it does hold 80 cows, and we could have anywhere of 5 to 6 different diets being fed in this barn, depending on how many research projects are going on. So each cow has its own individual stall. Okay, this is the milking parlor. The original structure of the milking parlor was built back in the 1970s, and it's been upgraded since then. This is what we call a double 7 herringbone. In a herringbone, the cows stand at an angle to the operator that's in the pit. So basically it's like any other parlor. The cows come in, the milk is checked by the person that's doing the milking. For any abnormal milk, the cows are dipped with a sanitizing solution. After at least 30 seconds, that sanitizing solution is wiped off, as she's doing right now, and then the machine is attached. The technology that we have in the parlor, we have the basic milking machine and the pipelines and vacuum and everything, but we also have some technology as well too. Down in the parlor, we have a milk meter that's manufactured by the AFI company. The milk meter will monitor, the first thing is each cow is identified when it comes into the parlor. The milk meter is the unit that measures the amount of milk each milking. So then we can use that for research, that particular data, and we've got those pounds of milk that is produced every milking that the cow comes in there. We also have the fortunate thing too, the unit right next to the glass looking meter there is called AFI Lab. And that measures protein, fat, conductivity, and lactose as well too. So we're getting all those measurements on all the milk that's produced by that cow. If we look at this particular cow here, this first one standing in the stall, we'll notice that she's got a collar on, and she's got that little blue attachment there on that side of the collar, and then right up above there, that's the ID system for IDing that particular cow when she comes into the parlor. That attachment on the side too has a couple other functions besides just IDing the cow. It also monitors rumination and activity as well too. So it's a rumination and activity monitor as well, and we utilize that technology. But the cows here at the Michigan State University Dairy Farm average about 100 pounds of milk a day, which is about 12 gallons. And we were running right about 4% butterfat protein, 4% butterfat, 3.2% protein, and our somatic cell count usually ends up around 60,000 somatic cell count. We're like to just mention too that last year, we've been numerous years, but last year we were one of the top 6 herds in the United States of America for our milk quality. We were recognized by the National Milk Quality Award program for doing so. I think we were the only university on there, but again, one of 6 farms in the nation to be recognized for our outstanding milk quality. 3.2 crude protein, 4.0 butter fat, 60,000 somatic cell count. We have approximately about 15 full-time or part-time employees that would be non-students. I have myself that's a manager as well as an assistant manager on top of that. And then throughout the year, we'll hire about probably 25 to 35 students throughout the year. A lot of the students don't work a lot of hours. They might only work one shift, so it might only be 5 hours per week or so, but it's kind of more of a combination of they're helping us out, plus it's a nice learning experience for the students as well too. We don't get a lot of students with a lot of ag background in here, and so we look at this as an opportunity to provide another layer of hands-on training for the students that go along with the classroom work as well too. So only one person. We do have a person that does move cows to and from the parlor. Yep. So one person milking along with an assistant that's moving cattle. Basically, so the milk each day is picked up at 5 a.m. in the morning. We're part of a cooperative here called Michigan Milk Producers Association. So they're in charge of marketing our milk for us. We're I think it's about 900 members here in Michigan in the Midwest as part of the co-op. But each day our milk will go down to a processing plant over towards the east side of the state. And most of our milk at that processing plant, they do a lot of bottling, and it ends up with a chain of stores called Kroger stores here in Michigan. So once in a great while, they'll come up from campus. They have a processing plant on campus as well too. So they'll come get milk to process into ice cream and cheese as well. So
How many pounds each?
those are both 2,000 gallon tanks. Yep. Yep. We'll ship about 23,000 pounds a day out of this facility. 23,000 pounds of milk. You're probably mostly work with kilos, but yeah. Yep. Yeah, if you come back in probably a little over a year, we'll have the new facility. That'll be really more state of the art. A lot of this is fairly old. We still get the job done, you know, as far as getting all the research done and everything, but the new dairy is going to be state of the art technology and everything, so it'll be pretty kind of a whole new thing compared to this. This is another research facility. This particular facility will hold about 60 cows in here. And again, they're tie stalls, so they're individually fed. The whole basis of this, again, is to get the individual dry matter intakes. In this particular facility here right now, I think there's 3 different research trials that are going on. One of the trials has 40 cows, and we do all kinds of different research. Everything from we'll do research that takes in the last 21 days of pregnancy right before the cow has a calf, and then the next 42 days after that. That seems to be a real one of the real more popular research projects that we're doing right now, are that transition in fresh cow type research. Some of the research that we're doing as well too utilizes this particular machine behind us, which is called a green feed machine, and this will actually monitor when a cow comes in, to stick her head in the back side of that. Can't really see it right now, but it delivers a little bit of grain to her, and then it will monitor the methane output of that particular cow over a certain period of time. So yeah, it's basically a mobile methane monitoring unit is what that is, and we have 2 of these right now. We have one particular researcher that's part of a large nationwide grant working on methane and genetics. So we're here at Michigan State University, instead of maybe focusing on the nutrition aspect, one of the things we're doing for looking at methane production is we're looking at certain genetics of cows. And we're looking at cows that are most feed efficient, cows that basically eat less, produce the same amount of milk, but if they eat less, they're going to produce less methane. And so that's where we're really focused on the genetic part of cattle and looking at methane production from that standpoint. Okay, this is probably what is a little more realistic as far as the Michigan dairy industry or the dairy industry in the United States. This is called a freestyle barn. You can see the cows are free to come and go. They have the stalls, they have the drinking area with the water tanks, and they also have a large feed area here that they can consume their total mixed ration on as well. We have the curtain sidewalls, the open peak roof, so the basis of the ventilation is the fresh air comes from the sides, mixes with the warm, moist air that would be in the barn, then it has a chimney effect to push it out the top. So that's the basis of the ventilation. In Michigan, probably the more common bedding source is going to be sand. We have a lot of sand in Michigan, and if you think about sand, it's a really good material that does not grow bacteria. But here at the Michigan State University Dairy Farm, we use mattresses and shavings. And lo and behold, we can still achieve very high quality milk even with an organic bedding source like that. The shavings, we use a combination of a little bit of limestone and shavings in the back of the stall, but it does require a lot of shavings and a lot of dollars of shavings on a yearly basis to maintain that high quality of milk. One of the reasons we use shavings versus sand is that all of our manure gets scraped out 3 times a day, and it's taken back to a methane digester. And in the digester, that digester right now is not set up to currently handle sand-laden manure. Because if you use sand in bedding, the sand will separate out, and then whatever storage unit it is will tend to plug up that storage unit. Well, in a digester, like we kind of see behind us, we see the dome up there, we can see it a little bit later, we don't have the capability to clean sand out of that. So it makes us have to use shavings which stay in suspension and then they can be pumped. In our new facility, we're going to move all to sand-bedded freestalls, and then we're going to run that manure-laden sand or sand-laden manure through a reclaiming system and be able to separate out the sand, dry that sand out, and then use it back as a bedding source too. So we'll be able to extract the sand and then use that put the manure over to the digester and then reuse that sand back for bedding again. Talk a little bit about the cows in here. The barn set up again is with the free stalls. They're very large free stalls. I think these are 50-inch free stalls, so the cows have the capability to lunge and have a lot of lunch space, easy to get up. The barn also here is set up with headlocks so that we can turn the pipe and we can lock the cows in if we have to do vaccinations or herd checks or what have you, and that's what the cows are sticking their heads through right now. Most of the cows here, the mature cows are on one side, and most of this side which would be the south, is the younger cattle. The north are going to be the cows with more than one lactation. We separate out the two, and we found that we get higher production, a little bit better growth rate on our younger cattle if we don't mix them with the mature cows, and so that's been a real big benefit to us. On the mature cow side, that ration is balanced for about 60 pounds of dry matter intake. That's going to be roughly about 135 pounds of as-fed total mixed ration. Our total mixed ration, if we want to get a little closer here, it's everything basically mixed in one ration through a feed wagon. The basis of that TMR, total mixed ration called TMR, is going to be corn silage and haylage, and about 50% of that is going to be basically roughages. And the corn silage is going to be a higher percent than the haylage will be. But most diets in Michigan, they're going to be a higher percent corn silage than they are haylage. Also in that total mixed ration, we're going to feed a little bit of cottonseed. We're going to feed dry corn, soybean meal. We've got a bypass high protein blend that we feed, and also a vitamin mineral mix as well too. And that's kind of the basis of our total mixed ration. Now, on any particular day, we're feeding about 15 to 20 different diets here at the MSU Dairy Farm. Typically, a farm here in Michigan that would milk 250 cows might feed about 4 to 5 diets total, probably more like 4. So again, you can kind of see that we're mixing a lot with 20 because of all the different cows that are on research diets. Out in this particular barn, which is a freestall barn, we don't do a lot of nutrition research out here because we can't calculate the individual dry matter intakes. We can only do an average dry matter intake for the group. But out here in this particular barn, we'll do behavior studies, we'll do reproduction studies, things of that nature where we don't have to calculate a dry matter intake on the animals. And then a lot of times too, it's conducive for the cows not to spend their entire lactations in a tie stall. So as far as from the regulators and things, they like to see when cows are done with tie stalls that they get moved to more of this freestall housing, and it's more of from an animal welfare standpoint. So our cows are really moving in and out of the tie stalls depending on what type of cows they need for a research diet. If they need mid-lactation cows, we'll pull a group of mid-lactation cows out of here and put them in the tie stalls, and then whatever, say there was fresh cows in there and their trial is done, they'll move back to here. So that's kind of the cattle movement a little bit. So the feed is pushed up about once every hour, and the cows are fed once a day. So yeah, definitely pushing feed up is a very important thing. The more that it could be pushed up, I would say every hour to hour and a half, you definitely want to do that. You can see the feed is fairly pushed up quite nicely now. It's right against where the where the cows can have very, very good access to that. Definitely there's the difference between pushing up feed and not pushing up feed could be 10 to 15% of production just by having a good feed management pushing program. So.
And you have some case of HBS here?
Yeah, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but yeah, once in a while we'll see some irritable bowel a little bit. Sometimes that can be more related to nutrition, and particularly with research trials, if we're kind of pushing the upper window on maybe a particular ingredient, that's where we'll tend to see that more so than, but we don't see much of that just in the general lactating herd that isn't on research trial. I think ours is probably more so maybe acidosis related versus HbA. Yeah. No sprinklers. We do have fans. We do tend to see a little bit of heat stress. We will lose 15% of our production in the summer on the overly hot days. We're not really set up really well to handle all that excess water because we don't have a really good way to pump it to the digester. Everything's got to be hauled back there. So we don't try to use an excessive amount of water. We have used some in the holding pen from time to trying to cool cows off. The new facility, again, will be set up with all internal booster fans and sprinklers on every cow as well too, so above every feed rail. Our production, we probably peak out on production, and we usually hit right around 100 pounds per cow per day, and that's usually in the mid-spring time. We'll start to decrease in production starting June, July, August, September, right in there, and then the cows will start to rebound a little bit again in October, and then we'll kind of build back up. The winter months, they'll bounce around, and then we really do the best in the spring months. But just to give you an idea what those pounds of production are, as we get into mid-spring, we'll be hitting right around 100 pounds, 98 to 100 pounds a day. And in the peak of summer, we could be down as low as about 83 to 85. So we're about 10 to 15 pound production loss when we get the hot days. Now they'll rebound back, but it's that long stretches of hot where it's hot in the day and the night is where we can see the 10 to 15 pound production loss like we did this summer. What we produce per day is about, so we're going to milk around 230 cows. We're going to be anywhere from 21,000 to 23,000 pounds a day, right in that ballpark. We just had some rain here, so it looks a little sloppy, but this is just an example of one of our storage units. These are ag bags, and as we can see, these both have corn silage in them. Both of these corn silage bags have a variety in them. We're doing a corn silage trial right now. We're evaluating 5 different varieties of corn silage, and so that's just one of the trials. But yeah, we don't store all our feeds in ag bags, but more so the feeds where we're doing silage feed trials, looking at certain varieties of plants and stuff. So, all right, this particular facility, we're kind of going out of order here a little bit. But this particular facility is going to be our wean calf facility. Calves are going to be in here anywhere from 9 weeks of age till they're about 4.5 months of age, right in that ballpark. So basically 2 months to 4.5 months of age. They're going to be, we're going to see that in a little bit, but they're in individual calf houses, calf hutches when they're first born up to about 9 weeks of age. Then they'll move to these group pens, and we'll group them up with either 3 or 4 calves in a pen where they can get socially acclimated to one another. We start them on some dry hay, and they're still on up to about 10 to 12 pounds of grain a day. And then we'll just move them through some of the group pens. At about 4.5 months of age, we're going to start them on some fermented feeds or a total mixed ration, introduce that to them, and then at about 5 months of age, they're going to move to another barn for another week where they're on for another month, where they're on all fermented feeds and a total mixed ration. And then at 6 months of age, they're going to be moved to a custom heifer grower at that time. Okay, this is our feed mixing center. You can see we've got some storage containers in the back where we have a lot of different bagged ingredients. Well, I can't even take a guess at how many different ingredients we'll have here just because of all the research trials, but it would probably be nothing for us to have 25, 30 different types of ingredients here that we have here at the farm just to make all the various diets that we make. This particular unit is a feed mixer unit called a reel augie. It's got a big reel system along with some augers in it that mix up the feed. It's on a scale system. In order to mix our feed, we utilize a program called TMR Tracker, which all the diets are loaded onto the computer, and then they're taken on a flash drive and can be put into the computer that's in the tractor. And then the person that's mixing the feed, they know exactly the pounds of every particular ingredient that can be mixed there. And it also gives us, then he downloads that information back to the computer, and then he gives us a daily log of the accuracy of how the diet was mixed and everything, and the amount of pounds that was. And then what we'll do each day too, we'll take the dry matter or the weigh back that wasn't consumed. We'll log that into the computer as well too, and we can get dry matter intakes on the groups as a whole. So yeah, basically just a feed mixing center. We have 8 different bins that hold anything from soybean meal to base mineral mix to like a high bypass protein type mix. We also utilize the system up there. We have one research trial in particular right now that's utilizing some molasses. We can see it in the tank right out here. So something we just started as well, but we're looking at feeding molasses to fresh cows at this particular time. So yeah, so a lot of different ingredients. So the ingredients here, all the smaller inclusion rates that can be added with the auger. The items that have bigger inclusion rates like dry corn and cottonseed, dry hay, we'll keep all those and we'll load those with a loader, a front end loader. So this is kind of another one of our big feed kitchens. In the new facility, this will have some modifications done to it, and this will be our main big feed mixing center. But as you can see, we've got low potassium grass hay for our dry cows and close-up cows. We've got 2 different types of alfalfa. One of them's for a research trial and one is for herd diets. We feed some cottonseed as well too, and then we have ground corn. So again, these are all things that are a little easier to load with a loader. Obviously, like cottonseed, you can't run that into a bin through an auger, so it has to be loaded with a loader. But and corn is another thing we will go through quite a bit of that at a time. We'll get a 20 to 25 ton load of that in, so we just don't have a bin big enough to store that, so it's easier to store that on the floor. Of corn right now, it was right around $160, give or take, a ton delivered in, ground and delivered. That's ranged anywhere in the last year from about $220 to $160. So corn price has been bouncing around. We've had ours contracted. We have ours contracted through the 1st of November. So I can't tell you right now what the current market price of corn is. I haven't checked that, but I need to start looking at that. So.
And the cotton seed is expensive for you, or?
Yeah, it's about $300 and give or take $350 a ton, right in that ballpark, and that's delivered ton. Delivery is a lot of that. There's probably at least $100 a ton of that is delivery to get it up from the Carolinas. Most of ours comes out of the North Carolina, South Carolina. Okay. This is wheat straw from the crop wheat, and we use this in dry cow diets basically as bulk material. You know, we like to, obviously in your dry cows, you like to maintain, you know, their body condition without them getting too heavy on you. But yeah, wheat straw. We'll use this yeah, mostly just in the dry cows. Once in a while, we'll do some experiments with wheat straw as well too. But yeah, for the most part, the key with feeding straw is the chop length. Ideally, yeah, you'd want it all like that. Some of these big pieces that we see can be sorted out pretty easy, but right now we're having a little issue with one of our grinders. So, yep, we use the Penn State shaker box mostly through teaching and class, but we have a couple of instructors that utilize that pretty heavily in their class materials. So, you know, the nice thing is they're shaking out our diets for us usually almost on a monthly basis, just because it's part of the teaching routine. These are our bunker silos. Mainly Yeah, I think everything in here is haylage. Excuse me, 2 bunkers full of corn silage. The rest is all haylage. Obviously, we can see, you know, this is a bunker of haylage. Some of our bunkers are a little bit smaller just because of research trials. Again, maybe have a particular variety or cutting that we're looking at. So they're not ideal, but they, yeah, we do manage them the best we can. We have a unit that comes in and it scrapes the front of the bunker. You can see it's a nice tight, you know, I can't even stick my finger in there. So it's packed in there really well, and then we basically utilize what's called a defacer on the front, and we rake it down, and you can see the front is very fresh and cool, and we only, you know, deface off what we need throughout the day. We try to deface off about 9 to 12 inches a day to keep it fresh. Then we manage the plastic. They'll pull the plastic back, clean off anything on the top that's deteriorated, and then so we don't get that in the feed. But very important, we do a good job with our haylage. Our haylage typically here in Michigan, we'll get 5 cuttings. We'll start with the first cutting about mid-May, and then about every 28 days after that, we'll take another cutting. In fact, we're just mowing our 5th cutting today to get that done as well. So I like to, if I could get it right around 40 dry matter, 40 to 42 dry matter. We have seen a little bit of a range. Depending on the weather, we will chop it down as low as about 36 and as high as about 48. I hopefully don't get too much around 50, but if we could shoot for that 40 to 42 is ideal. But our window, we allow our window to be a little bit bigger depending on the weather. One of the things we have to, you know, a challenge with the university too, you know, the employees here are union employees. The hours are more set daylight type hours, so it's more of a 8 to 5 situation. So sometimes we're challenged. We are allowed to work overtime in some instances, but in some instances not. So again, we have to kind of work around everybody's work schedule to get this harvested as well too. There's a different part of the university that handles the harvesting for us. We don't actually, any of the dairy crew is involved in it. We're involved in the covering of the bunkers, but that's about it, not the harvest of it. So yeah, we definitely have some challenges to work with our employees, you know, just being part of a university, part of a different type of setting than they would on a normal dairy farm. This particular, we plant at the university, we plant all what's called low lignin alfalfa. So lignin is the fibrous part of the plant. So as a plant, alfalfa plant gets taller, it's got to have lignin in its structure to hold it up, to keep it from falling over. Well, lignin's a good thing to hold up the plant, but high lignin content is a bad thing when it comes to feeding dairy cows. So the more lignin in it, the more undigestible part of the plant that we will have. And so in the United States, they've bred what they call low lignin alfalfa. And just like it sounds, there's less lignin in the stalk. All right, now it may be prone, just like it sounds, it may be prone that plant may be easier to tip over. But the basis with low lignin alfalfa is typically on a traditional alfalfa variety, we're going to harvest that at about every 28 days here in Michigan. That's almost the ideal time. Low lignin alfalfa usually allows us to extend that interval out to, say, 35 days and still get the same quality of feed, the same digestibility that you would have at 28 days. Now, some of that's a little bit debatable. In my mind, we don't necessarily plant low lignin alfalfa that we can extend out our harvest interval to 35 days. We plant low lignin alfalfa almost like an insurance policy, where if the weather turned bad on us at 28 days, we know we've got a little bit of buffer there to still get a high quality alfalfa. I'm not sure if many people, the dairy farmers that I know that plant low lignin alfalfa in Michigan, don't necessarily extend their harvest interval out, more use it as this insurance policy where if they get caught by the weather, then they know they still have good quality. They're still chasing it at the 28 day mark, 26 to 28 days between cuttings. Okay, this is our calf raising facility. In the new facility, we're going to have all indoor enclosed, environmentally controlled calf barn. But this facility works really well too. We raise all the calves for the first 2 months of life, actually 9 weeks. We raise them in hutches. So as soon as they're born and as soon as they're dried off, they're moved to a hutch that has brand new bedding in it. The hutch is thoroughly washed and sanitized between each calf. We strive to get a 1 gallon of, 3 quarts of colostrum in them. within the first hour of birth, and then with anywhere from 8 to 12 hours after that, we get another 3 quarts of colostrum in the calves. And the colostrum is all tested to make sure that we have the highest quality colostrum possible. So the calves will spend all 9 weeks in these hutches. Right now we've got a big research project going on that is encompassing all of our calves, and probably will be for the whole entire year. So just wanted to point out that we do a lot of research on calves as well too. But calves after the first 2 feedings of colostrum, if they're not on a research trial, they're fed milk replacer. We'll feed 2 quarts 3 times a day for the first 2 weeks of life. Then after the first 2 weeks of life, we bump them up to 3 quarts 3 times a day of the milk replacer. They're offered free choice grain on day 1 that they're put into the hutch, and free choice water as well too. And then we like to see them at about 8 weeks of age. We like to see them consuming about 3 pounds of grain in order to start the weaning process off on them. About 2.5 to 3 pounds of grain. And if a calf isn't consuming that amount, we'll let her go out a little bit more. And then again, we like to have them consuming at least about 3.5 pounds of grain before we pull all the milk away. So the weaning process that we utilize is based upon grain intake. But for the most part, we can get them weaned to right around 8 to 8.5 weeks of age. Most of them are right at that 8 weeks of age. They're usually consuming a sufficient amount of grain in order to get that process going. Our death rate is, I will tell you though, is under 2% death loss. I can't tell you like the pneumonia rate and all that off the top of my head. I don't remember those numbers. But we do have pretty dedicated staff, and our program is pretty intense. So yeah, we do maintain under a 2% death loss on the calves. Yeah, so the different band colors that you see out there means a different thing. Some of these calves are actually getting 6 feedings of what we call a transition milk, which is a fresh cow milk that we capture from the cows for the first 2 days after being fresh. So we've got some cows on that particular trial. There's some other calves that are on another additive that they're getting in their milk replacer. A probiotic product that we're evaluating as well too. So yeah, so all the animals here in the whole facility really keep pretty busy with all the various research projects that we have going on, all the way from calves right up to the milking cows as well too. Cows are our dry cows, so we dry cows off in an average of about 60 days dry. Had them in a barn where they were in free stalls at one time. We've had some floor issues with that barn, and so we've had to put the dry cows on a pack facility where it's a shavings pack. Probably this is less than ideal, but we have not seen much mastitis. It just requires a lot of bedding material to keep this dry, so it's kind of an expensive way to house mature cows on a bedding pack, just because of the cost of the bedding, in order to maintain low level incidence of mastitis. We can see the ration. The basis of the ration is a little bit of corn silage in that straw that we showed you back in the other barn, and then basically going to be a high percentage of haylage in this ration. And then at 3 weeks to 4 weeks prior to freshening, they're going to be moved inside to the research, and probably go under research. Most of them will be, and they'll be moved on to a what we consider a close-up diet that will have a little bit of corn, protein source. It'll incorporate that low potassium grass hay in there, a little bit of haylage for the younger animals, and mostly a corn silage. So it's very little haylage, very little potassium in our close-up diet. So yeah, and that's going to be the 60 days prior to freshening. Every cow will go through that dry off period. Okay, we have 2 pens of heifers here. One of the pens where the younger ones are once they come out of that barn in the back there, we had the group pens. They're again housed into a pen of up to about 15 head here, and this is just prior to go to our custom grower. We have a custom grower that's located about an hour and a half from here. And then our heifers actually commingled with heifers from other farms. I think our custom grower raises about 2,500 head total, and we have about 125 of them down there. But they'll go there at about 6 months of age. Then they'll come back prior to freshening at about 60 days prior to freshening, and then they'll go in a pen over here where they'll get up to about 3 weeks prior to freshening, and then we'll move them inside too as well onto that close-up diet. It'll be a different close-up diet other than what the cows are getting. We make one specifically for our close-up heifers. We don't feed them the same diet as the close-up cows. Actually, there's a transition part though, because of the bird flu or the HPAI right now. The heifers that are coming back from the grower, the custom grower, we put them for 3 weeks out in a quarantine pasture, and before we bring them into the facility where we can put them under surveillance and watch them to make sure there's no issues. Once they clear the 3 weeks, and so far we haven't had any trouble, we move them into this facility here to interact with the other animals. So this is just kind of an overview of our new dairy facility that we're in the midst of constructing right now. Actually, it doesn't show in this picture, but it's going to have a large administration building out front too. We're going to incorporate 2 classrooms, a visitor center, and then along with an area for the employees and meetings and different things of that nature. Looking back on the cow barn itself, in the new facility, it's going to house 680 cows. It's going to be one large barn that's about 250 feet wide by about 650 feet long. It's what is termed a tunnel vent barn. So you can see on the far end of the barn, these are 38 different fans, 6-foot fans that are down there, so the air is drawn in one side and exhausted out the other. There's also going to be about 119 booster fans that are inside to keep that air fresh, and they'll be on variable speed drives. So even in the winter, we can keep that air moving through there and keep the air fresh. We're going to have a double 12 parallel parlor here in the front. This will be all herdsmen's and laboratories. We're going to have a really nice area. This will be a great facility for our vet students as well too. We're going to have an area here will be 4 different treatment chutes along with some special needs box stalls. And so the vet students can all be involved in teaching and the surgeries and everything that goes on right there. As we move out to here, this particular part of the facility is going to be 2 Lely robots. So there'll be 120 cows or 60 cows on each side. We'll be able to do some experimentation with that as well. This will be just a conventional type freestyle pen. All these 12 pens down here are in groups of 12, so it'll be group cow research. As we move to the front, again, just some traditional type freestyle pens. There's going to be calving box stalls and some of those tie stalls that we just saw in here. Along this whole side are what is termed, they used to be called Incentec, but now they're called Hoco farms, where instead of having cows chained to a stall in a tie stall, and we're recording that, we're picking up what the cow didn't eat and administering some new feed, and then calculating that dry matter intake. These will be all automated tubs, where the cows, say a group of 30 cows, there might be 5 or 6 different diets that'll be fed in these tubs. The cows will learn her tub, and when she comes up to the tub, the door will drop, the cow will eat, and then that'll be all monitored in real time. So when the cow backs away, the system will automatically know that cow ate 10.3 pounds of feed intake. And then when she comes back to visit later, we'll also record that. So everything is going to be done, everything will be in real time, will be all automated, no more of the hand pitching of feed into tie stalls or any of that. So this will be the way of the future that we record our individual feed intakes. So we'll be able to do group research here and some of the other ones, and then if we want individual feed intakes for our cows based on those studies, we're going to utilize, I think there's 96 of those feed boxes, feed tubs that are with the automated weigh system on them. We'll be operational next summer, so basically about 15 months of build time. They started in April, and we expect to be done by August of next year. So about 9 months from now. Okay. Yep. Basically what's completed at this point is just some of the footings, some of the foundation. Later this month we'll start to see some of the barn and some of the flat work. There's some of this structure's been started to be built. So just kind of in the early stages yet, doing a lot of the groundwork on it. So yeah, so it's about $50 million. It's probably, don't take that and think that for anybody to build a 600 cow dairy in the state of Michigan is going to cost $50 million. Keep in mind that this has got a lot of things that are very unique to research, right? We've got the big administration building with a visitor center and classrooms. We've got all these Incentec gates here, 96, that's a couple $1 million just in itself. So this is a pretty much more elaborate system than the commercial dairyman would have built. But this is really set up for teaching and research. So it adds a lot of money. Accessibility for handicapped people, different things of this nature. So, yep. It'll be really a state-of-the-art, we think it's probably going to be the elite research facility in the world, to be honest with you, so when it gets up and running.